Welcome. My name is Dani Meyer. I know some of you have already gotten in and gotten text for slides. We have pages 36 through 38, I think, in the workbook are our pages. So if you haven't checked those out, we will be going through those at the end. But there was like 5 other pages that weren't in there that they couldn't print. So if you text to there, you will get those in your email right away as well. So today, we are talking about mastering the sales process. This is one of my courses that I run, and I'm going to attempt to compress this down into 40 minutes for you in kind of the most compressed and tight version of it. But there is a lot more, so if you have questions, feel free to come up, ask me about them, any of that. So we're gonna be covering a little bit of my backstory. We're gonna talk about how celery and cold pitching saved me from killing my mother-in-law, which we appreciate, some sales mindset shifts, my 10-step sales process. And some of that includes how to pick the brands most likely to hire you, how to find their contact information, how to connect authentically and effectively via email and social media. One of my favorite sales exercises, how to lead authentic phone sales conversations without puking, good thing. We'll try to get to how to design a media kit that sells for you, and then again, there's swipe copy in there. So if we don't get through everything, just come ask me. I'm happy to send you guys whatever you need. So a little bit about me. I am a full-time food blogger and food photographer. I have a team that runs my studio with me in Central Oregon. I ran a thriving freelance food photography and videography company for 4 years. Now I just run my blog, and then I run courses where I teach food bloggers and food photographers lots of different skills. I have, these guys are a little bit older now, 3 wild sweet boys. They are 8, 6, and 18 months. And I've been trained and mentored by some of the top food bloggers and food photographers and digital marketers in the world. So I kind of stand on both sides. I am a food blogger, but I'm also heavily trained in digital marketing. So that is, I'm also almost a certified yoga teacher. So we deal with mindset stuff, we deal with sales stuff, we deal with marketing stuff, all of that, plus all the photography. So we've been featured in lots of different places. We've worked with tons of different national and international brands. Most of that work has been done direct. Some of it's done through agencies like Top Influencer, things like that. But we do almost all of our work via return customers and via direct sales. And we've created and remodeled 2 physical studio spaces outside of our home for over the last 4 years. I'm also a founder of Food Blogger Entrepreneurs Community, FBE Academy, which this course is a part of FBE Academy, and we are the creators of the Foodie Presets. These are some of my babies. And then that's my sister-in-law, and she works with me full-time, and my hubby is finally home. So he just came home in November, so we are rocking it. Some of the first food photos, in case you think there's a lot of natural talent going on here, not. So lots of progression here. We worked from being on food stamps, being on minimum wage, and just really progressed through studio builds. And this is our current studio that we built 2 years ago, which is amazing. This was at one of our workshops last summer, and there was another one on there, but maybe not. But I was not an overnight success story, and I was not a naturally outgoing person. So I had a lot of baggage, I had a lot of fear. I did not talk on the phone at all. Like, I didn't even order pizza. So this was a very long progression, and I want to share that because I think that it's important to know that you don't have to start out as a natural speaker. You don't have to start out as a natural salesperson to be able to really learn these skill sets and begin to use them in your business. This is a lot of drama, so we'll leave that there. But I started out really rough in this. I started out very young in this. I had a lot of depression. I had a lot of anxiety. And so I learned to talk on the phone because I had to work at a call center, which was the only job that I could get. And I literally sobbed my eyes out the first day on that. So this has been a very big progression of us working through a lot of stuff. I've been blogging since 2010. But I didn't actually show my blog to anyone when I first started it because I was that petrified of the world, hating it. It doesn't really make a lot of logical sense when you're working with fear. So I think that that's an important thing to note is that if you feel a lot of nervous energy, if you feel terrified of this, if you feel like throwing up when you think about talking to a brand, that is totally normal. And it's something that you can work through and you can become very confident and capable at doing this. Gosh, this is from another slide that's longer normally. So in 2014, I stumbled into freelance food photography and recipe development because of cold pitching. So this topic is really near and dear to my heart. And I was given 2 life-changing scholarships, both from cold emails. So I got a scholarship to blog her food. I had a ticket given to me to come. I had secured a hotel room with 5 other girls, but I needed a cross-country flight to get to the conference. And so I was a very new blogger, and I had no resources to work with. So I cold pitched the tar out of everyone. I got on there, and I found every brand that had ever sponsored a food blogger conference, but not at Blog Her Food, and I cold pitched 100 different companies to get to that conference. In that same time period, I started cold pitching, just emailing back to anybody that I could email. And the next month, I landed a Celery client who was worth $5,000 for 1 month of recipes. And I was like, what? Like, this is a job? I didn't even know this was a job. Like, I was trying to get a little sponsored post for my blog, and it turned into a freelance career. I also worked with Sabra that first month, and I got my first sponsored post for $200. So I had accomplished these goals in a very short period of time just from the power of email. And that began the progression of my company growth from cold emails. And so I want you guys to understand this. The next thing that happened was I just sent a thank you email. I watched a blogger teach a class online, and I messaged them and said, thank you. Like, thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for coming on and teaching me. And they brought me to their studio and trained me for 3 days for free. So I want to encourage you, like, when this happens and you stay in the flow and you get in the mode of just being in gratitude, being in flow, sending the emails, write the damn emails, you guys. Like, I know that it sucks, I know that it's hard, but like when you get into the flow of doing this and you get into the flow of putting it out there what you want, it's not as hard and scary as it actually feels when you start doing it. So this is our studio. This was one of our photography workshops that we did, and this really came out of a vision that I got when I went to that conference of having people gather and really helping them to learn the skill sets that they needed to take their blog to the next level. So none of this would have happened if I had not been willing to cold pitch and ask for what I needed. So we're going to talk about some sales mindset shifts. First up, stop saying that you suck at sales. I hear this all the time. Like, I suck at sales, I suck at cold pitching, I suck at working with brands. This is stopping, just, I mean, if you want to get woo, right? Like, this is stopping energetically things from coming to you. You wouldn't expect a kid to be able to ride a bike at first or to be able to run a mile. You wouldn't be like, you know what, I really suck at lifting weights. Like, if you don't lift weights, you're going to suck at lifting weights. So why would we assume that you have to have this natural inborn ability to sell, this natural inborn ability to speak? It doesn't make sense. So you absolutely can feel good about selling. You absolutely can have amazing brand collaborations. And you can get off these calls walking away from brands feeling fantastic and not feeling gross and yucky and like you got on and cold sold or you wrote a really like aggressive pitch email. You don't have to sell like that. You can sell authentically. So that being said, sales is a number game. So we want to make you better, but even the best salesperson will have a closing rate. And that closing rate is a percentage of the people that you reach out to. A fantastic salesperson closes 30% of warm leads, 50% of referrals, and a good cold caller averages 2%. Now, we're not suggesting that you get on the phone and actually cold call people, but I want you to remember that if you're going out and doing this in volume and you need a certain volume of work, you have to produce a volume of pitches before you're going to see those results come in. Sales is like making friends. So if you feel like you're a shy person, you feel like you struggle with that, start there. It's a really easy way to do it. Just start talking to anybody you can. Coffee person, when you walk up, give them a compliment. Say hello. Start conversations on the airplane because it starts to break down your mindset of what you're working through, of having those conversations and being able to talk to anyone. So ask questions. Be willing to get vulnerable and relatable with the person sitting next to you, with the person that's walking down the street. Just say hello, make eye contact. In some cities, that's a total weird thing, right? Like, it depends on where you're from, but like we're from Oregon, so we're pretty friendly, but some places you just don't talk to people, right? So get yourself into that mode of just being a friendly, welcoming person, regardless if you think you're shy or you don't normally do that. That's something you can change too. So ask better questions. Where are you from? Tell me about X. When did you start X? Do you have kids? Any of these kinds of things. And you guys get these all on the slides, so I'm not gonna go through all of them, but start thinking about questions that you can keep the conversation going, because this is what you're practicing for your sales calls. Your sales calls don't have to be a pitch fest. They're not supposed to be a pitch fest. But if you're not used to doing this with normal people, when you add on the anxiety of talking to a brand, this is gonna feel really hard. So start there. Start with the people around you. Start with coming to conferences. Do that engagement to where it feels natural, and then when you get up, it's just like you're talking to a friend. It's just like you're having a phone call with a girlfriend, just like that. So are you ready to pitch? This is something I get asked from a lot of newer bloggers. Before you can pitch to brands, you need to have an established brand identity. If you don't know who you're serving, if you don't know what you're talking about, that needs to get established first. So make sure your niching is done. Make sure that you have, your brand on point, all your social is matching, your website bio is matching, all of those things. So you're really clear about what value you're bringing to the brand. You need to have some audience and traffic. You need to know how to serve the client. So how does a sponsored post work? What exactly are you gonna do? If you need to find out about that, find out about that. What's this gonna look like? What do I need to report back? So that you can feel confident about that. Because if you're not confident, you're not gonna be able to pitch, because you're just gonna feel like you're in this middle zone constantly. You need to have a passion for the brand that you're pitching. A willingness to be rejected, and a long game mindset. So keep in mind, this is something that you're gonna be doing forever if you wanna work with brands, until you have enough brands in your roster that they keep coming back and keep sending you repeat work. So the other thing is, start before you feel ready. You're never gonna feel ready. There's never gonna be a great opportunist moment where you're like, the sky has parted and I'm ready to finally pitch brands. No, you're always gonna feel like I'm too small, my blog isn't good enough, I'm not good enough. All of that is just mindset. And so get out of that. I pitched my first company when I had like 5,000 page views and like 100 or 200 followers on Facebook. It doesn't matter. Like, you can pitch and you can get in that flow of getting into that if you know who your audience is, you know who you're serving. So the next thing that we're gonna jump into is how to find better brands. If you're gonna pitch, let's pitch the most effective way. I'm gonna grab some water here. Oh. So the first thing that you wanna do is make a list. So get in your pantry, get in the grocery store, write down all the brands that you use, and then get into the magazine section at the store. When you walk into the store, there's a whole rack of things. Go to the food magazines. If they're running ads in a major magazine, I don't know if you guys have ever checked the rate sheets on that, hundreds of thousands of dollars to run a teeny little black and white ad. So if they've got a full page spread, they've got money. Associations such as the Watermelon Board, Peanut Board, etc., like that. A lot of times these will come up. You'll see another blogger working with them. You'll see them at a conference. But you can also think of any ingredient that you use and Google board after it and see if they have a board. Most of them do. These are associations that these growers and buyers pay into, and that is the promotion for that topic. So there's all kinds of boards out there, especially ones that bloggers aren't hitting. So if you can think, there's a strawberry board, there's a pretty much anything you can think of. There's an egg board, there's milk boards. So all of those are options. And those companies have specific PR budgets set for bloggers, set for promotions for this. You want to get on their list. You want to be connected to them so that they know that you exist. Because the reality is, we're in a majorly saturated market. There are so many bloggers out there, they can't find you anymore. So even if you're fantastic, they're not gonna come knocking on your door anymore. It used to be, 7 years ago, that you could show up on Pinterest and you'd be, one of a few, and they'd message you and you'd get these pitches in your inbox. That's not the case anymore. There are millions and millions of blogs out there now. You need to be proactive about just saying hi. Just literally the act of saying hi puts you on their list. And they don't have a full directory of food bloggers. So just keep that in mind, that it's just literally you making connections so that they know that they can send you work. That's literally all you're doing, is saying hi and handing them a business card. So the next thing you want to do is research and follow. Type in the brand's name into Google along with the words sponsored by. You want to use the parentheses. That will tell Google only return results that include the word sponsored by. Now you might want to try other things. If you don't find stuff on the first page, try brought to you by, in collaboration with, any of the phrasings that you see in normal brand disclosures. Those are going to be great keywords to search for. So this is an example. You can see this post is sponsored by Campbell's, You can see that there's multiple posts here on the home page of this. You can now tell they work with bloggers. They know what we do. This is important. You don't want to be spending your time educating a brand on why working with bloggers is important, because it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of their time. They generally don't understand why they would want to work with you, why they would want to send you kind of exorbitant amounts of money. Let's be honest. Like, especially if they're a small brand. So keep that in mind too. You may have a great local company that you love and you think you're a small blogger, so it'll make sense for me to go there. They don't have the budget for it. They don't know what the value is. If you are smaller or not and you want to work with local companies, my recommendation is to go to TV. Go and get on your local news channel, get on your regional news channel, get some segments going on there, and then pitch your local companies. I can take you to TV. I can take you to the regional news channel and we can talk about your cranberries. We can talk about your eggs, whatever it is, because that's who they want to reach. They don't care that you have 1 million people reading you from all over North America if they sell cranberries in your region. So keep that in mind, that you have to think, what is the end game for them? How am I going to support their marketing efforts the best way? And so that's the thing. Sabra is a giant company. I was a teeny blogger, but they understand that, right? They understand the benefit of reaching an audience and what could happen with that post, because that post has value aside from the size of my current audience. That post is still on my blog. They paid $200 for it. That's a lifetime advertisement. And if you think about this, guys, they'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to be in one magazine, one paper magazine that gets thrown away, and your blog post is living forever. You do the creative, you do the recipe development. This is a huge, huge value. That ad price for a paid magazine does not include the recipe development. It does not include the photography. It does not include the graphic design. It includes none of that. It's just the ability to put the ad there. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. So keep that in mind when you're pricing yourself, that just because you're at one level does not mean that your blog is going to stay there, and price that accordingly because it's evergreen content that they get. If you're going for freelance gigs, go to the brand's website and look over it. Look for brands with funds. They run a magazine ad or a sponsored post, etc., and or brand sites with poor photos or limited recipes. If you go to an association site and they've got only a few recipes or they have a bunch of really bad photography, you can come in and say, hey, I'd like to come in and do all of your photos again. I'd like to redo all of this. It looks like you have some needs here. Is that something that you'd be interested in hearing about? Well, absolutely. We've been thinking about doing that, but haven't gotten around to it. Your email is perfectly timed. That is what you're looking for if you're trying to get those bulk deals. For sponsored posts, look for a regular flow of sponsored posts or the brand sharing images and recipes with tags back to the influencers. You'll see that on Twitter. You'll see it on Facebook. They're tagging people on all of that. Ideally, you don't want to see Top Influence Network, anything like that in the disclosure where they'll say like this was sponsored by, Campbell's with Top Influence. Ideally, you don't want to see that, but if you feel like it's a great brand fit anyways, they may pass you to the Top Influence contact and then you can get work through there as well. So just keep in mind if it's like on a borderline company and you're like, I'm not sure, that can be, a deal breaker for some people. If you find someone that you're interested in, a brand that you're interested in, and they match these requirements, then follow them on all social. So all the social you can, that is your assignment for the first day. You don't have to do anything else. You don't try to get an email that day. You don't try to reach out to them that day. You just go through and do this in a spreadsheet, follow them on all the social. Then you're going to engage with them. You can like several of their posts, you can retweet something, leave a comment. If you happen to use them organically, tag them in it. That's really great. But I want to say, don't feel like you have to create free content for brands. This drives me crazy where people are like, well, I really wanted to work with them, but I haven't done a recipe and I just keep meaning to get around with it. You don't have to give them free work in order to pitch them. That is not necessary. If it happens, it's organic, it's there, great. Mention it, bring it up, tag them. But I have so many clients that I reach out to. I'm like, hey, I really love your company. Really like to work together. I don't write about people for free. So I didn't write about you for free. That's just, I'm a business, right? So keep that in mind. If you're newer and smaller and trying to catch attention, doing some of that organic content for free can be a good way to get them to pay attention. But you then don't just leave it there. You don't just tag them and be like, oh, great, it's free. Then you follow up and you pitch. The money is in the follow-up, you guys. It really, really is. After you go through and you do a whole batch of following all these different brands, you've gotten your list done, you've followed everyone, now you go and you take the time to build the media kit. Why? Why don't we build our media kit first? Because you don't want to be pitching people that you just followed. So go through, do a big bulk batch, then go work on your media kit or revamp your media kit or do something for a week. Distract yourself for a week. This gives you time to move down their feed. You don't want to see, hey, they followed me on Twitter. Hey, they reached out and were in my DMs. Like, not such a great thing. So give yourself some time. Gather testimonials, gather stats, get photos. You want to create a multi-page, beautiful media kit. This is your best sales piece of documentation, and bloggers like send one little thing with like your stats. Like, this is like the chance that they're like, sure, would you like to pitch me? And you're giving them literally just metrics that they can't do anything with. So get elaborate. You can create an entire PDF. Like my media kit, I'm happy to show it to you guys afterwards. It's like 12 pages. Like it's an entire sales progression and it sells for me. And that's really important. If you go look at any of the magazine's media kits, they're big. They have an editorial calendar in them. Mimic them. If you're looking for inspiration, Google any of the magazines that you like to follow and go look at their rate kits. Look at their media kits. They're amazing. They're designed incredibly well, comparatively to a blogger media kit that's like, I'm kind of lame and I don't really know that you should work with me. Don't be like that. You're awesome. They should work with you. Tell them why they should work with you. Consider making a video introduction here as well that you can use to let brands see behind the scenes to get to know you. These are great. I don't have one, just full disclosure. So I think it's a great idea and I think I should do it and I haven't done it. So shame on Dani. Get super clear on your weekly and monthly goals. We have full spreadsheets for this and forms that you go through and everything, but how many people will you pitch? Who are your ideal clients? And what is your ideal amount of work? If you go out and pitch 100 brands, you need to know how much, what's your schedule? How many of these do you want? Because the reality is the more you pitch, the more they're gonna say yes. And you need to make sure that you really are clear about that. If you go out and do a big bulk shoot like this, or not bulk shoot, I bulk shoot everything. So if you bulk this out, you need to make sure that you know, this is my schedule. I can get you in June. That's when I have availability. And that, again, makes it look like you're on top of your shit. You know what you're doing. You know that they can't just take a sponsored post whenever they want. You have this structured out to where you say, I can schedule you in here. I can schedule you in here. This is how this is going to work. You need to start treating your business like it's a business, like it's a professional booking company. You're a photographer. You're a blogger. But blogger gets into this weird, oh, sure, I can just do whatever you want and I can just morph into what you need me to be. No more. You have a professional company and you need to run it like you're a professional. How much are you going to get paid? Use the income calculator. That's what we have. You can just do the math too. How much do you want to make in the year? You need to divide that by how many available sponsored posts you have and set your rates accordingly. Now there's also, of course, how big is your site and all of that. But at the same time, if you only want to run campaigns that pay over this, maybe you only run video campaigns. Maybe you make decisions where you only work with brands if they, give you 3 posts. You can make those decisions because you're the owner and you're the boss, so you get to do that. What do you want your clients to be like? I know it seems silly to think about that because we're well, duh, I want great clients. What does that mean for you? Detail that out, because when you're super clear what you want your clients to be like, you're gonna communicate that when you're on the phone with them of how you work with clients, how you expect to be treated back in response. And that establishes for you a baseline to say, this is a bad client and they need to leave. This is not an okay brand relationship because I've set what my standards are in order to work with you. So spend at least a few minutes solidifying this in your mind and write it down. And then you're gonna use a worksheet or an Excel spreadsheet to track your leads and your pitches. So the next thing is to find their contact information. And people make this big and scary, you need a database or anything. You don't. You can Google the brand's name plus the words press release. Put press release in parentheses if you don't get results on the first page. And you're going to find, for most big companies, that they have press releases. They have a PR team. This is what they do. At the bottom of those emails is going to be a media contact. If you don't find it by searching press release, then you can search for media contact. You can search for PR. You can search for anything like that that's going to bring up documentation like that. Sometimes if you look in the news tab, that will also give you more things because it's a current, up-to-date thing. You don't want a 2-year-old media release contact if you can help it. And it looks like I skipped a slide or something here. The other thing is just reach out on social. You've followed them on social. That was the whole point of this. I'm gonna see if okay, here we go. So this is what I use on social. And I want you to keep in mind with this, oh, that's why I said that there. What is the one thing I want this person to do? We're going into the outreach stage. This is where you want to think about one thing. They can do one thing. If you tell people to do two things, they will do nothing. So be very clear about what you want them to do, or they won't do anything. It's like children. Even when you ask them to do it, it still doesn't always work. So, hi, my name is Dani. I run the food blog, The Adventure Bite. I'm a huge fan, and I have an idea I would love to share. May I get the best email for your marketing coordinator, please? That is it. You do not want to pitch them in their inbox. It's this big. Like, they cannot read that. You want an email address. So that is your number one goal. Give me an email address. I want a current email address. You can do this on all social the same day. You can stagger it if you're organized, and you can, track that you haven't gotten it back. But just get the email address, and they're generally very willing to give it to you. Like, they think you might want to work for free, so they'll give it to you. So keep that in mind, that like, as long as you don't go into a long pitch here, you're likely going to get the email address, which is the goal. Then you're going to go into email outreach. So we're going to give you a script today, but I encourage you, make it your own. Make this sound like you. Don't make it sound like me. You want to have the same conversational tone through all of your emails. So if you're not fluffy, if you don't use exclamation points like I do, change it to make it fit your tone. Do not include media kits or any attachments. It will often end you up in spam. So you don't want to do that. It'll just get you flagged, and your open rates will be crazy, crazy low. So the most important part of this email, in my opinion, is to express how excited you are. Like, that's easy for me. I'm usually pumped about everything. So, but write authentically and tell them that you are a super fan. If you've mentioned them organically in places, tell them that. Like, that's important information for them to know. I like to err on the side of too many exclamation points versus not enough. And I keep the tone really casual to help establish a friendly working relationship. I want them to feel like they're my BFF. But that is how I work with my clients. So if you're super professional, do super professional, but keep whatever it is across the board that you're gonna hold as the tone. So this is my email script. It says, hi, Emily, I got your email from requesting a media contact via wherever you got it. My name is Dani Meyer, and I run the blog, The Adventure Bite. Our blog helps women get healthy while creating empowered, adventure-packed lives. We believe that being healthy doesn't have to be so damn boring. And so this is really important. You're telling them who you are. You're qualifying that you've gotten their contact from a place. Like, if you got it from a press release, you can tell them that there too. You're telling them in 2 sentences tops what your blog is about. And then you're saying, I wanted to reach out because we're obsessed with your product in our weekly lunches. And then do something here, do something personality-wise. This is why I use it. My kids love it. We eat it all the time. Like, I love watermelon. I don't know. You like riff here with whatever it is for the brand. I realized today we hadn't featured them on the blog and thought I would reach out because I know they'd be a great natural fit since we use them so much. This is very important. You want to qualify that you are already a consumer. You want to qualify that you are already a raving fan. You don't want to come in and say, I just found out about your company and I thought it would be good if we, had a paid collaboration. Like, delete, right? So like, the point of this, again, is for them to email you back or get on the phone. And so the next thing is, are you open to receiving some concepts on ways we could work together now or in the future? This is really great because it takes the pressure off, right? You don't want them to feel like she's gonna hard pitch me. She's gonna sell me, I gotta do like a multi-post deal with a woman right now, or she's leaving. So I want to keep this open and energetic there. I have a ton of idea, and I have a typo. I have a ton of ideas on how we could utilize them, but I always love to hear your marketing goals first to ensure we can give ideas that help accomplish the brand's needs. This is really important. You don't want to give away your ideas for free. Your ideas are valuable. If you send 18 ideas of how to work together, they can either just swipe them, they can not reply to you, they can get totally overwhelmed and not reply and just ghost you forever. So just say you've got tons of ideas, and that's accurate. This also makes it to where you don't have to brainstorm anything until you get a response. So like, it works really well on both points. I'd love to jump on a quick 15-minute intro call if you're interested too. I use smiley faces because that's how I write. Look forward to connecting. Warmly, Dani. So my goal here is to get them to reply or to get them to say, absolutely, we'd love to jump on a call. I'm not saying I'd like to get you on a sales call. I'm saying 15 minutes. I respect your time. You're a busy PR person. I get it. I don't want to spend an hour on the phone with you. I really don't. I probably will because it's me and I talk a lot. But that gives you, one, the permission to say, I don't really like you, hard stop at 15 minutes, getting off the phone. Or it can expand out if they have more time and it works organically. But this is very, very effective at getting people to reply. It gives them an out for them to not get on a call if they hate calls. You're not saying like, I only want to talk to you on the phone, right? So like that's the goal. But my goal is to get them on the phone. Okay, this is like super advanced. If you want to take it to the next level, can I get this to click? Okay, good. If you want to take it to the next level, you can do a video intro or a media kit, not right at this moment for a media kit, on a pixeled page. Then you can run very low budget, soft retargeting awareness ads with Facebook ads. You want to use a lot of ads if you're gonna do this. This is content. You're just sending them your most popular videos, your most popular content. Wouldn't they like to see that in their feed for you to just organically remind them that you exist? And then watch your frequency. You don't want them to be seeing the same thing over and over and over again on there. On a certain ad. So if it starts to pick one ad that's showing way too much, just turn that one off. Send them some of your other stuff. You're not sending them an ad to come book a call with you. You're just sending awareness. They're like, oh, this girl's just everywhere, right? Like everywhere. So that is one way you can do that to kind of like stealth mode them without them thinking that they're being followed everywhere. Number 8, book the call. So they send you a reply back. We'd love to get on a call. This is so great. Thanks so much for getting back to me. Reply back to something in their message. Here's my schedule for this week and next. I'm heading out on vacation next Wednesday. Obviously, if you're not, don't say that. So it's a bit later than usual. Let me know if you can't find a slot that works, and I will try to be flexible with what times you have. Then you're gonna send them your Calendly link. This is free. Calendly as a scheduler. You can also use Google Cal as a scheduler. Why do we do this? This establishes you as the expert. You have a schedule. These are the slots that you are available. You are not available to talk at their whim. Again, this is a power play a little bit, but you're saying, I'm a busy professional. I would like you to schedule yourself on my calendar. I'd like to work together. So this is a really good thing. If they send you yours, theirs, fine, whatever. I don't like force them to use my scheduler, right? But if you have the chance to lead the conversation, you want to lead the conversation. Why do we do this? We're establishing that you're the boss. You also want them to sign your contract and not theirs. So you're establishing, I know what I'm doing. I have this in control. We're taking you through a known process. This is what you want them to feel like, oh, she's got it. She knows exactly what to do. She's talking to me on the phone. We're gonna have a proposal, then we're gonna have a contract, and it's gonna be glorious and we're all going to be friends. So your goal here, again, get them on the phone. One goal, one thing here. You're not saying, here's my media kit. You're not saying anything there. It's just one objective per email. Then is the discovery call. So your number one goal is to get them on a call if they're interested. They may reply and be eager to get started, but let me just tell you, if they're like, let's sign the contract, let's do it. Do not sign the contract. Get on the phone. If they don't want to get on a phone, that should be a really big red warning flag for you. Like if they're not willing to get on the phone and have a conversation with you, I would not sign the contract. Every time I'm like, oh, it's so great, everything's fabulous, it's all working so well, the contract's perfect, I'm just gonna sign it, it'll be easier. It kicks you in the ass every time. Why? Because you don't have a phone number at that point, and you haven't had a phone conversation with them. You haven't had a human interaction. You're typing back and forth on email. And if you've ever text fought, it's not a good thing, right? Like, this is the easiest place for you to be misunderstood. If you can get them on the phone, your tone is there, your cadence is there, all of that is there. So my recommendation is, if at all possible, get them on the phone. Remember, you're not pitching them at this point. You are just letting them know that you offer a service and seeing if they're in need of that service. 99.9% of sponsored post issues can be resolved easier with a phone call. So try to get their number versus having them call you. Let me get your phone number. After they reply back with they put their time in there, it'll ask them for their phone number there, but if you don't get it there, email them and be like, what's your number so I can give you a call? That puts you, again, in the control seat. You're taking establishment. You have a phone number now. If something goes wrong, hey, I haven't gotten the approval on this draft. This is due today. It needs to go live. all of a sudden you have something much more powerful than just sitting there emailing with no response for 2 weeks. Well, you don't get paid, right? Like that is the other thing, is that if your contract is not written to where you're getting prepaid, you could just be sitting indefinitely with no paycheck. Like blogging is one of the most vulnerable financial situations. Like any other industry, they would never work like we work, where you're just like, sure, let me deliver all the deliverables. Let me do all the work and then bill you and I'll get paid in 90 days. Like think about any other industry. Would you ever expect them to work like that? No, you wouldn't, but that's part of our industry. We're trying to change it, but still. Make sure you've got a phone number so that you can protect yourself if you get into those sticky situations. The goal of this call is to create a new raving fan contact. You're not here to sell them on the phone. You're here to make a PR friend. This person may not be the brand. They may be a PR person. They move companies all the time. So if you have established yourself with them, they will take you to the next company and they will say, hey, Dani, like I got this contact. We're working over here now. Love to see, some rates from you on this project. We have PR company people that go all over and they keep sending us work. They keep sending us work because they know we're going to do a good job. So then you're going to prepare a quote or a proposal if it goes well. If the call goes well, you're both excited, you're interested, let them know that you'll create a custom proposal just for them. If they insist that you send a media kit ahead of time, send them the full 10-page media kit without any pricing at the end, just cut that off. But ideally, I like to wait to send a media kit until after the call, because it's set up in a very psychological sales fashion to take them through, here's who she is, this is what she's telling me. Now all of a sudden at the bottom, I'm getting to the rate. It's kind of like reading a long form sales page. So I prefer to get it to them at the end so that they can have that whole experience versus having those separated and them just seeing rates on a sheet. So keep that in mind there. If you're not interested anymore, there are calls where you're gonna get on, you're like, holy red flags, like time to go, gracefully exit the call. Thank you so much for talking with me today. I'll be sending you an email, and then send them an email and just let them know that it wasn't a good fit. If you have friends that you think they might be a good fit for, you can recommend them. If not, you don't have to justify a bad gut reaction. And if you get a bad gut reaction, do not move forward with the contract. Just don't. They never turn out right. And then you're going to come in and you're going to do this over and over and over again. This is what we affectionately call 100 no's challenge. So we give everybody a sheet that has 100 dots on it, and every time you get a no, you get to celebrate and scratch one of those off. So this is designed to change your mindset about this. It's designed to reframe rejection in a different way. I have achieved my goal today. Boom, I got a no. Like they're not interested. Check it off. I have not seen anybody actually get to the end of a 100 no challenge without booking work. Most of the time I don't get even through 50 before we're booked out and I can't keep going because it's just like, I can't take any more calls right now. Like this is impossible. But keep in mind that if you have discovery calls coming, keep the emails going because that's the flow, right? You want to have those discovery calls built into your week and set your schedule. Like, okay, this is the time of my week where I can take discovery calls. If you're not available, and it depends, right? If you do it in batches, you may have to block off like a week or two where you have more availability to take discovery calls. If you're gonna do that, I recommend doing it at periods where you know people are gonna be like starting a new quarter or at the start of the year, things like that where you know fiscal years are ending, things like that. They're looking for the next people. Generally, if you're gonna pitch for the next year, start in October because by the time you get into November and December, they're slammed with everything. So start October 1st for the following year. Do a big one of these so they're getting a push on that and they can get your information long enough before like January when they come back and they're like, oh crap, we gotta get that blogger campaign going. And then you'll be there and you'll already be in there. And then you can follow up in January and see if you can get them on a call. So sales call script walkthrough. Let's see if I've got that paper. Let's snag this. Okay, so on here, this is very much in the flow, but what this gives you is it's got a place for you to brainstorm all of this out ahead of time. So you can come in, again, we're on page 36 of your notebook. You can research interesting things. So once you book the call, Now your research begins. You don't have to do hours of research on the brand before you send a pitch email. Why? Because you're going to get a percentage of them to reply. Don't waste your time researching the company for 10 hours before you get someone who's like, yeah, we're interested in talking to you. So now you've got a call scheduled. Now you start researching. You dig for interesting facts. You read their entire social media, everything on the bios. You read their About Us page. You watch their YouTube videos. You get all the data you can so that you can come in looking so prepared, so on top of it, ready to fire those questions off. And then we've got question examples here. So like, these are things to get PR people talking. How are you going to get them in the flow? How are you going to get them conversing with you? And getting them to like drop the things that you need to write the best proposal. They're gonna tell you, oh, well, this quarter we're working on, organic cottage cheese. They're rolling out this line and we really want that. Oh, how convenient. Write it down. Now all of a sudden I have a cottage cheese recipe in my pitch. So you wanna get them to talk. They will talk. Don't be afraid of the pauses. If you like throw it out there and they're like, one thing, and just let it sit. It's awkward as fuck, I get it, but they're gonna fill the space. And that's where you're gonna get those gems where you're then gonna be like, oh yeah, remember that? Right there in my proposal. So that is super, super important. Now, while you're going through this process, you can mock this up too if you're like super nervous about this. Get a friend, just role play, make them pretend to be the PR person, make your husband do it, make your friend do it, and just start like having a faux conversation like this and get it rolling so that you can feel what it's like to get them coming off of your mouth and having the conversation and the questions flow easily. And then you're gonna start sliding in teasers like, oh, that's amazing. They say something, we did this with brand over here and it was so great and it worked so well. Or I could totally see us doing something like that. Then ask another question. You don't want to leave it there where they're like, oh, cool, like, great, like, this was great. Now tell me more about this. Move the conversation on. You're interjecting yourself with like, oh, I would like to talk about that, but then pull them back in to where they're talking again. That's super important. You're piquing their interest. 5 minutes? Okay. Piquing their interest, dropping them back into getting them to talk about themselves. People love to talk about themselves. It's very easy. That's how you can talk for an hour with these people. So like, and not like they're these people, but still. So that's important. Don't linger there. When you're ready to get off, you want to transition to the offer. Well, that's amazing, Laura. It sounds like blah, blah, blah is going really well. I'm so excited. Speaking of which is like my favorite phrase. Just transition it, like wrap it up, right? Speaking of that, I'd love to talk to you about how I envision us using your product on our site. I think that we could do this really amazing idea. That's your research stage, right? You have at least a couple ideas here that you can pull out. You don't have to be sold to these though. Like if something comes up and they drop something in the call, you can just, okay, wrap that into there, move that on to where you're like, I was thinking about this and you said that, and pull that in and tie that into the recipe. So, I mean, not every conversation goes well, right? Like not everyone's like, you're just like, okay, it's time to get off the phone. Sometimes they'll flow, but if you have that prep work done, it's easier to flow with that because you at least have the backups, right? Like you have the things in your pocket when you're like, oh shit, I don't know what to say now. Like you've got your whole list here ready to go so you can pull off of that. If you have a case study at this point, it's great. We did this with so-and-so brand and it went so well. We did an Instant Pot video and it blah, 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 it blew up, this and that. I'd love to do something similar with you for that thing. And if you don't have a case study, then just share your idea right there. Let's see here. Yeah, and so right here, you can say, you can give your rate if you know it on the phone. If you come in and you have your rate established, you can say, great, my rate for this starts at da-da-da-da-da. My rate if we do it with video starts at da-da-da-da-da. Would you like me to work up a custom proposal? There are ways that we can bring that rate down or up or whatever you want to do there to make that conversation flow. And you ask them, would you like me to work up a custom proposal for you? Custom proposals take time. If you're going to do them right, and you're pitching this many brands, make sure they want it before you go through the effort of sitting down and actually putting together a really beautiful proposal. Otherwise, you're just throwing your work down the drain. When there's another brand who wants a call, who you haven't pitched, who would be more apt to buy. If you are feeling like the PR rep is nervous, if they're new, if they're not super experienced, if you feel like they're very vague in what it is that they're asking for, book a second call. Just tell them, I'm going to work up a custom proposal, but the way I handle this is I will send you the proposal at the same time we're on a call so I can walk you through everything that's on there, answer any of your questions, customize anything you might need, and allow you to see that all, with me there. But I'm going to need a little bit to get that worked up, and then book them a second call. So I have these times right now, and you book it on the phone. I have tomorrow at 4 p.m. I have next Monday at noon. Which one of these works for you? And they'll be like, okay, great, look at my calendar, crap, she's asking me a question, right? Like you've literally said, like they have to tell you no at that point. Like, no, I don't want to get on the phone with you again, which is awkward. Like nobody really says that. So like, if you feel like you need that extra support, if you've just talked to somebody for an hour and a half, don't make them book another call with you. Like it's not necessary. They're ready to buy, right? They just want to like, give me the buy button, right? So read the call and decide how you're gonna work that second option there. And that's really it. Then you're gonna produce the proposal, you're gonna send that over, they're gonna love it, they're gonna hate it, you're gonna check in on them, and that's gonna close the whole transaction down. But it's so different. You guys see how that's so different than most of the ways that like you send things out and it just feels gross. Like this is a whole relationship. So then if they say no, when you follow up in a quarter, when you follow up at the beginning of the year, all of a sudden, whoa, I remember her. Like we really should work with so-and-so. She did such a great job. And now we're ready. So keep in mind that like you're not just coming in for a one-time relationship. You're coming in for repeat lifetime clients. And that's how you want to treat them when you get on the phone. Like this is somebody I'm going to hang out with. You're going to meet them at a conference. Like if you have a poor breakdown with these relationships, they talk. All the PR people talk. They come to the conferences. They'll move to the next company. So this is your reputation that is on the line here to have those relationships and have those flows, so that you really can get that lifetime work. So any questions on that? Sorry, like a giant hour. Yes.
I have a funny situation in that I do consumer products, like consumer goods testing for toxicity. I don't know if you know my blog at all, but I test pots and pans and dishes for lead.
Oh, okay.
And so I do that. My readers send me stuff to test.
Oh, okay.
And I write it so it's not influenced by the brands. Recently, brands have been contacting me like, wow, I love what you did. I'm going to do a press release. I'm going to mention your blog. You're going to get all this traffic. I was like, no, it's not going to work that way. And so this one brand makes this cast iron pan, and they emailed me this week, and they want to do that. And I'm just like, well, I don't want them putting like endorsed by, let's say, Mama on their blog on their website without my permission. And I'm just nervous about how it's going to go.
I would just have a lawyer send them a cease and desist if they put something on your site. Yeah. Go talk to Jamie. Oh, she writes really good letters.
I guess what I'm saying is like if I already am using their product, I'm not using it, but I wrote about their product. Do you think it's okay to be firm about saying, no, you can't mention my blog? Because it's like, it's public now, so they could link to it, but they couldn't say endorsed by, I think.
Yeah, they can't say endorsed by, that's your brand. So I would just make sure, you don't do sponsored posts with them then, or are you? Not yet, okay.
I do now, but it's new.
Yeah, I would just walk that line carefully with your situation, because like if they release another product that isn't in line with what you believe, then all of a sudden you have a really interesting conversation about like, I no longer recommend this company, which could be, so yeah, I mean, is it just lead safe?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So can you work with food brands then, maybe where you wouldn't have as many of those situations? You just do dishes, yeah.
I do. I practice some. I'm in Oregon too.
Oh, nice.
So I've done some food stuff, but the food stuff's tentative too because they can have lead. A lot of food.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. That's hard. I would talk to a lawyer, honestly, yeah, because if you have to come back, you could also write your contracts really specifically to where you don't have evergreen sponsored content. You only sponsor like for 3 months, and then after 3 months, you have the ability to take the sponsored content down. We don't write our contracts like that. I prefer evergreen. I like to have the brands continue to get it because then I can take that information back to them and say, look, we did this work 3 years ago. Look at how much traffic you've gotten over the last 3 years. But in your situation, you might want to do it shorter so that, like, you know, shit hits the fan and they all of a sudden are producing a bad pan.
Yeah, I have put that in the contract. It's like, hey, you know, if at any time you have a product that has lead, cadmium, mercury, or arsenic, you're off my blog.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
write something bad about it.
Yeah. So I would just make sure that you get that all checked out with a lawyer and run it like that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Yeah.
The very, very first slide, we
Yeah.
said text to get the.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get
Let
all
me
the
see.
information. Sorry.
No, that's great. Sorry, it was on the last one. Should have ended there. 10x sales to 444999.
10x sales 444999. Thank you.
Yes. And if it doesn't instantly reply back, then it should.
Catch it.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you guys are welcome to email me. My inbox is a disaster, FYI. So if you don't hear from me, it's probably better to catch me on Facebook Messenger because I'll actually see you. Yes.
In my niche, a lot of the big brands work with bloggers, but the bloggers tend to just accept free products, so they're
Yeah.
not interested in paying people. Do you just steer clear of them altogether, or do
Do
you
the
try to
number?
convince them that you're worth?
Yeah, so I have a whole reply email for that when they send pitches, because we get that all the time, and it's like, I can show you it afterwards if you'd like to see that, because yeah, it is a conversation of like, free work, we want you to work for free, and I just reply back and I'm like, because we protect the integrity of our readership, we don't accept free product, but if you ever have a paid campaign, like this is information about us, you can, get in contact with us, but I don't work for free product.
Yeah.
I mean, I might take free product, but I'm not going to work for it, so there's a difference.
Do you have an example of a rate card?
I do, not on here, but you're welcome to come over. So when I do rate cards, I actually do them, digital marketing nerd. So we do them backwards. So it's a sales psychology thing. So basically whatever the first number is that, Megan's like staring at me. You guys can go eat lunch if you want to, or we can keep talking. So that's your official release. But we do it to where it's reversed. So our biggest package is on the left, then our middle package that we want them to actually book, and then our smallest package is on the right, because the first number you see price sets in your mind, and then everything above that seems expensive. So if you price set at the high price and then come down, all of a sudden the middle one's a deal, right? So keep that in mind when you're presenting things as you're having those conversations with that. But yeah, that's how I do it. And then especially if you're smaller, we came from freelancing, right? So I was like liberal freelancing. And so when we started working sponsored post contracts, I started using rights really liberally with my longer contracts. So when we have like a 3-post contract, a 6-post contract, at the bottom they get bonuses. It's just like, think about a sales page, right? Like stop thinking about this as like an invoice. This is a sales page, you're selling them. So the biggest kit gets sponsored posts, boost money on Facebook. I run them a Facebook ad campaign. They get rights to run it on their website. I'll make them a custom video end card with their brand on it to where they can use them on all their social. So you've got assets to work with. Even if your blog is small, they want those assets. So keep in mind that that's like your biggest bargaining chip, to say not only are you getting advertisement, but you're getting a deliverable, right? Like you're getting a video, you're getting photography. I can now back up my rate no matter what my sponsored, size is, no matter what my website is, because you're getting an actual product. So use that to your advantage. If they don't want to pay a lot, you don't get anything, right? You get a tweet, but that's like a really important thing, is just to know what your assets are to really work with there, and to say okay, so if you don't have budget for this, we can tweak it this way. You're not going to get this, this, and this. And then all of a sudden when you start doing that, they're like, well, I really did want that. I really did think that would be cool. If you get into a multi-post deal, you can run a multi-video. So sell 4 videos. If they buy 4 videos, they get the collaboration video for free, or you mush them all together. That took you so long, didn't it? But they get a whole other video, and you slap their logo at the end, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, that would have cost us $5,000 right there for somebody to shoot that. So keep in mind that you've got things that you can bargaining chips that you can move around to really work for your advantage.
That was great, thank you.
Yes.